A 29-year-old Colombian man has been arrested and charged with the murder of a Polish man and participating in a fight. He has pleaded guilty and provided explanations. The prosecutor's office has already filed a motion for his temporary detention. He faces life imprisonment. Responsibility for participating in a fight means that if someone takes part in such an event and knows that it is potentially dangerous, they must reckon with the consequence of putting someone at the risk of injury or death. It all started with an argument that broke out between the residents of Nove and Colombians staying there. It quickly turned into a fight during which a 41-year-old Polish man was fatally stabbed. As a result of work carried out by the police, 11 men were taken into police custody. 3 aged 32, 32 and 33 are residents of the municipality of Nove in Świecie County. The 8 other detainees are Colombian citizens aged 19 to 55. The foreigners worked at a meat processing plant in Nove. They lived in a hostel above the restaurant where the fight broke out. And this is where questions arise. Why were Colombians working at the local plant and not Poles? And now, pay attention. Every year, this plant receives public aid amounting to 60,000 or 100,000 zloty. And it shows a loss every year. It does not pay any corporate income tax. And now the best part. The owner of the plant is, of course, a German holding company. So we are dealing with a situation so pathological that it is unbelievable. Let's summarize.
Holding niemiecki w Polsce.
A German holding company in Poland does not employ Poles, does not pay taxes, employs Colombians who murder Poles in the city, and on top of that, it receives public aid from the state. Now they have moved these Colombians or want to move them to a new location. And of course the Polish police protect them, which means that Polish taxpayers pay to protect these thugs for the Germans. Now that we know who is paying for it, we need to ask another question. Who is profiting from mass immigration? Mass immigration primarily benefits large companies and corporations that employ these people, do not pay taxes in Poland, report losses, and thus earn huge amounts of money, while Poles, yes, Poles, lose out on this mass immigration because they often cannot find the jobs they want. All this is happening in a situation of rising unemployment. But this is only the beginning of a long list of costs of mass migration that Poles have to bear. The highest price is already being paid by the victims of crimes committed by foreigners. Murderers! Murderers! A 41-year-old Polish man was killed in Nove, and a young Polish woman was killed in Toruń, and her memory was honoured by the city's residents in a silent march, or rather, a silent cry for help, so that we pay attention to what is really happening in our country. Poland is becoming dangerous for us, and soon we women will be afraid to leave our homes. None of us want to live in Paris. Why not? Because if we wanted to, we would. What do you mean none of us want to live in Paris? Explain it to me as an older colleague who is much older and grew up in a different circumstance. I think you know perfectly well what your colleague means. This is not an exaggeration. It is a sad European reality confirmed by statistics. Women are afraid, especially of illegal immigration, which in many countries such as France, Germany and Sweden has led to a sharp increase in crimes against women. So these fears are very justified, and it seems that decisions should be made as soon as possible to prevent what we are seeing today in these countries on the streets of Swedish and German cities. Examples. There are many. In Gothenburg, a 25-year-old Swedish woman, a professional soldier, was brutally raped in a park by an Afghan man who offered to help her. The woman, who had come for her sister's wedding, could not find her way to the hotel. The perpetrator took her to a park where he strangled, bit and raped her. Recklinghausen. On the evening of the 6th of July, a 39-year-old German woman went to the police station at the train station asking for help because the man was following her. Her stalker, a 24-year-old man from Burkina Faso, followed her into the station. His pants were unzipped and he had a visible erection. He was drunk and aggressive towards the officers, and he also allegedly molested one of the policewomen, but he was not arrested. Spain, police in Alcalá de Henares fired rubber bullets at a patriotic demonstration after the rape of a young Spanish woman. The perpetrator, an African immigrant from Mali, forced his victim to take a selfie with him after the rape. The information we are receiving is very disturbing. There are more and more illegal immigrants, more immigrants in general, and this situation makes me fear for myself, fear for my minor daughter.
Boimy się, chciałybyśmy, żeby
We are afraid. We would like the Polish government to guard the Polish borders, to protect them instead of causing more and more immigrants to arrive, just as the United Right government did effectively for 8 years. From the very beginning, Law and Justice warned against the disastrous consequences of mass immigration from culturally foreign regions of the world.
Co się dzieje we Włoszech? Pozajmowane
What is happening in Italy? Occupied churches are sometimes treated as toilets. What is happening in France? Constant riots, the introduction of Sharia law, patrols that enforce Sharia law, the same in London and even in Germany, which is the strongest and toughest in this respect. Such phenomena are also taking place. Germany was already pushing for a multicultural policy 10 years ago. Let me be clear. Germany is a strong country, and our approach to migration must be based on the idea that we have achieved so much, we can do it. Once again, history has proven the Conservatives right. This is the testimony of an Italian who left his country and sees his future in Poland.
Guys that are here studying for Erasmus, and everyone, also friends that came here to meet me, everyone is surprised by this city, by this country, because it's working. That's the main point. It's a country that works. You feel that it works. And Italy, you don't feel this. With working construction, with people, with also how we deal with immigration.
We have dealt with this problem in an exemplary manner so far. But after the change of government, Poland is starting to make the mistakes of the West. This is the latest example. In Przemysl, an immigrant threw stones at cars. After being detained by police, he was released. This week, the Polish government designated the area around the German border as critical infrastructure. According to the Minister of Internal Affairs and Administration, this move is intended to combat the border defence movement, which has operated on Poland's western border, documenting the mass transfer of illegal migrants from Germany to Poland. Border crossings have become critical infrastructure facilities to which unauthorised persons are not allowed access. Therefore, there will be no persons in the vicinity of border crossings who will attempt to impersonate officers or obstruct their activities. I, therefore, assume that such situations will not occur, and the police and border guards have clear guidelines to act firmly and decisively in such cases, not to allow anyone to carry out such activities. Taking pictures and flying drones has been banned near the Polish-German border crossings. The use of drones in certain situations can pose a threat to our everyday operations, if only because we have various critical infrastructure and military facilities, and drones flying over them simply pose a danger. Why did this specific border become unfilmable critical infrastructure now, so suddenly? During the last 2 weeks, I have been on many night patrols along the border, and German drones are flying above us in Polish airspace. At the same time, the Polish government prohibits Poles from flying drones at all, including drones with thermal imaging over that same Polish airspace. The problem is the continuing series of cases of Germany smuggling illegal migrants into Poland, many of which were documented by the border defence movement. It is no coincidence that the Polish government is now suddenly treating the German border as critical infrastructure. This is a pretext to remove citizen patrols and defenders of Polish borders from the border zone, and at the same time Germany is starting to shoot down drones over Polish airspace. This paints a picture of the German government and the Polish government led by Donald Tusk cooperating to obscure what is really going on at the border. The main goal is to document incidents and pass on information, not to catch people. If such a situation arises and we are sure, for example, that illegals are often passing a certain place, then next time we pass on this type of information to Polish officials. They cannot downplay the situation. There is, above all, one message that should go out, an answer to Berlin, to Brussels. It must be loud and it must be heard. We will not accept a single illegal immigrant that you have brought in through your insane Herzlich Willkommen policy, Wir schaffen das, and all the other madness that you proposed back then in Germany and Brussels. We defended ourselves against it back then, and today, together with the border defence movement, we must defend Poland against a flood of illegal immigrants. The government admits only one thing, that there is, indeed, a crisis in the border guard.
1500 wakatów jest.
There are 1,500 vacancies in the border guard. Convince these activists that if they really want to defend Poland's borders and not just inflame emotions, there are formations they should join immediately. We're open to anyone who wants to serve. The problem is not the border guard officers. The problem is with the political decision makers giving them orders. The border guard does not have clear and precise orders that all Polish border guard should not accept migrants dumped by the Germans. Donald Tusk first claimed that there was no problem, but it turns out that the German press is reporting that since the beginning of May, over 1,000 people have been dumped in Poland. And certainly, if it weren't for the border defense movement, this number would be much higher, as even German media admit.
Memories, tears, and a poignant silence. Texans pay tribute to their friends, neighbors, acquaintances, and all those who lost their lives in the floods.
A lot of human suffering. In the last 2 days, I saw a lot of devastation, chaos, just needed some answers. And coming together with other people, sharing the same thoughts, that, a candlelight vigil might not be a lot, but it is something that we can all come together and
On Friday, July 4th, the day America celebrated Independence Day, thousands of residents of Texas towns along the Guadalupe River were fighting for their lives. It was a so-called flash flood. Within minutes, streets and houses were flooded.
Our focus is on search, rescue, and recovery. Going forward, we will evaluate those needs and activities within Kendall County on a day-to-day basis.
Many of the victims are children. The flood unexpectedly hit Camp Mystic, a Christian camp for girls. 27 of the girls died, and 10 are considered missing.
The children, the little girls who were lost at Camp Mystic. That's every parent's nightmare. Every mom and dad. Last week, we were picking up our daughter from camp here in Hunt.
Amidst the immense tragedy that has befallen the people of Texas, there's also some heartening news. Coast Guard pilot Scott Ruskin rescued 165 people. He spotted people waiting for help and brought them to safety, and this was his first rescue mission.
Pretty bad weather for maybe 5 to 6 hours before we were able to get on scene. Once we got on scene, we were boots on the ground. We made the decision to leave me there. We figured we'd be able to hoist more people out on our helicopter with me not on it.
The hope of finding survivors is dwindling with every passing hour as the elements have destroyed everything in their path. The losses are enormous.
About
$20 billion has been calculated because it's obvious. Bridges, infrastructure, houses, everything people had there. I want to point out here that this is a lot, and the places where this happened are places where they have these campers. It was a long weekend, July 4th, so people get together with their families. They go to the river with their families, and of course everyone wants to be as close to the river as possible, which is why unfortunately many of the fatalities are related to these long weekend tourists. The water rose to several meters in some places. Unfortunately, the tragedy was exacerbated by the topography of this part of Texas. There aren't many trees or soil. There's rock practically everywhere, limestone, and this limestone doesn't let water through. So when something happens, the water stays there for a few days. And now, after 3 days, these rivers are still swollen. The danger has not passed, although the worst is over for the residents. At the end of the week, U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to visit the areas devastated by the natural disaster.
The motion of no confidence against Ursula von der Leyen will be the first such vote in over 10 years. If the motion to dismiss Ursula von der Leyen were to gain a majority, it would mean the end of the entire current European Commission. For months, we have been very critical of the work of the current College of the European Commission. Our opinion of this team's work has only worsened with each passing month. The list of allegations against von der Leyen and the Commission is long. Extreme politicization, acting against the interests of member states, as well as a series of scandals, some of which involve her personally. We criticize the implementation of the EU Migration Pact, and we criticize the scandalous way in which the trade agreement with Mercosur was negotiated without informing member state governments. The European Commission humiliated the Polish presidency by signing this agreement on its last day, June 30th, without informing national governments, including the Polish Minister of Agriculture. Von der Leyen, head of the European Commission, believes that she has done a good job.
No one thought we could ever pull it off, or that it would ever be agreed, but we did it together. And this, honourable members, this is the true story of the pandemic, not what the authors of this motion are trying to make of it. We should all be proud of it, and we can never let extremists rewrite history.
Her colleague, European People's Party leader Manfred Weber, went even further.
Dear colleagues, with this motion of censure, we are wasting time. Putin will like it, what his friends are doing here. Let's be brief from an EPP point of view. We will unanimously vote against this motion of censure on Thursday. Corona, Ursula von der Leyen said in us, we respect and we applaud the leadership.
Von der Leyen has still not explained herself regarding the huge scandal in which she was involved. Von der Leyen is embroiled in a scandal related to the purchase of vaccines from Pfizer and negotiations worth millions of euros via text messages, the contents of which she has so far refused to disclose, despite a court ruling. Von der Leyen has been trying for years to silence the vaccine scandal at all costs. As always, she claims to have done nothing wrong, and claims that she does not need to disclose any documents, even though the EU court disagrees. This is like a movie script. These multi-billion-dollar contracts are something that definitely needs to be explained. And if someone doesn't want to explain it, it means they don't want to show the documents involved. And if you don't want to show the documents involved, then they must have a good reason to want to hide them. There were many more scandals in von der Leyen's European Commission, including the one starring former Justice Commissioner Didier Reynders, who was accused of money laundering. We asked the European Commission to audit Commissioner Reynders' activities and whether the fact that he had large amounts of cash of unknown origin could be related to his position. We were refused. The European People's Party, whose ranks are filled with MEPs from establishment left-wing parties like Germany's CDU or Poland's Civic Platform, has announced that all its MEPs will vote in favor of the German head of the European Commission.
The history.